Yeah, he took some classes at the local community college for motorcycle maintenance, but um, like years later, he would work on his own vehicles, but never once worked on mine without making things worse. Like one time he tried to tow my Jeep out of the snow and he attached the chains to the wrong spot. And I kept saying, "You're going to rip the bumper off. You're going to rip the bumper off." And he's, screaming at me that I don't know what I'm talking about. And then he ripped the bumper off and never put it back on. And um, but the grandpa car, it needed fluids. I was giving it fluids. I didn't realize that it needed coolant because the last time I checked the coolant, the little um, plastic container was fine. And then it turns out it had a new coolant leak, and we broke down on the side of the road, me and the baby. And his dad came to pick us up and screamed at me about it. And then years later, told the court that I totaled that car. And I'm like, and he implied that I crashed it. And I'm trying to say, I was like, no, your son was supposed to maintain it. He didn't keep up his end of the bargain. But okay, fine, I totaled that car. Whatever. That's also why I don't feel bad talking about the family now. The mom's been throwing me under the bus for years, so and I knew that, not surprising. But the dad, I thought would at least be civil, and he has gone so far over to Tony's side, um, and I'll get into that later. But openly lying about me in court and buying, like, he rewarded Tony for leaving his wife and kid and not being able to support himself at 55 years old by buying him a $700,000 house. A house that's 2 to 3 times more expensive than the house he and his wife live in. He bought Phony and Harry Panini a home. It's cuckoo. And like I said, he's thrown me under the bus, so forget them. I'm not keeping their secrets anymore. So we move up and into their home. Oh, let me say before that, the social isolation that I was experiencing had already started. From day one, Tony had a problem with each and every one of my friends. One's a drunk, one's a slut, one's a thief. But there was always these reasons why I couldn't hang out with them that were like they were dangerous to me. Um, it I can't believe I let myself get brainwashed so badly. Before we moved up north, and I was completely isolated though. I had two friends that were neighbors, um, and both of them had Tony's number because they lived right next door and they could hear and see firsthand the dynamic. And so they didn't put up with any of his shit. They wouldn't let me make excuses for him. And then they also stayed friends with me longer than others did because I think they saw what a crisis I was in and they were trying really hard to help. And I'm really sorry I messed those friendships up. And yeah, I apologize if you're watching. I should have held on to you with life and limb. If you know who I'm talking to, I'm sure you do. Because you were truthful about myself and truthful about him, and I needed that in my life instead of running and hiding from it. But so I go to live in this town up in the mountains. At the time, I think it was like population 2,500 or 2,700, um, in the mountains in California with trees, and closest town is like 40 miles away, and I have this barely working car, and then that broke down very quickly, and so I had no car, a toddler, and I'm living in a house with a woman who has hated every single woman or girl who's been in her son's lives. And the big joke was like, I'm next. And so she talked mad shit about Phony's brother's wife. who he supposedly cheated on his first wife to be with, even though they went on to get married and have kids and a happy life. And he always took care of the first wife and paid child support and had the kid part time. So all things that Phony never did are the reasons why Phony and the mom like hated the brother and his wife, but in reality she just hated all women, like all women. And so I moved in, and she immediately would start following me around the house with my child in my arms, muttering insults and threats at me all day long. Like, get out of my house, you fucking bitch. I hope you die. You fat pig, get out of my house. Like, just like nonstop craziness, muttering. I'd go to the bathroom, and she'd actually go outside in the snow underneath the bathroom window and like smoke outside, rocking and shouting stuff through the bathroom window. It was so dumb. And then at the same time, Phony and his dad are like best of buddies. And Phony's not working, and they're both hanging out and drinking and um, partying all day. And they would leave for trips like 3 to 4 days at a time. And now I'd had the mom who would go on a massive bender when the boys were gone. Like, so when the boys were there, she was so bad that she'd take like a couple bites of dinner and then throw up all over her dinner plate. And then be like, I'm sorry, and like eat around her, throw up. It was gross. But that was like when the boys were there. When the boys weren't there, she was 10 times worse. I mean, collapsed in a pile of her own vomit, piss, excrement, and I would have to clean her up while she's screaming at me, hitting me, spitting on me. And still, I was like kind and gentle and making sure she stayed alive. Um, and I did take a couple videos only to show Phony how bad things got when he wasn't there. Because I honestly thought his mom was going to kill herself on one of these benders. The dad, though, had his issues too. Part of the reason why he and Phony were so close was because the whole extended family was worried about him. He had gotten his third DUI. But I don't think he ever had consequences for it because he was a retired cop, so he knew all the tricks to get out of it. And so the family was really worried that he was going to end up killing himself and the grandma. And Phony was the only one making excuses for him, and that's also why they got along so well. So, oh God, and the mom, I would catch her in the dad's wallet. She would wake up at like 4 in the morning, if not earlier, and come downstairs and do the whole like mutter outside the room and bang pots and things around and turn the vacuum on until I, would wake up. And it's funny because I'd stay up like at night anyways because it was the only time to myself, like where I could read, and I wouldn't have like a baby right in my arms and this crazy woman, yelling at me. So, or my partner pestering me for sex in a house that was so crowded that's like, to be intimate, we'd have to go hide in the bathroom or go find like an empty cabin. And at the same time, his obsession with his kink was getting weirder and crazier. And I'm abiding by it and yet getting so turned off and just like more and more dead inside and just like, it was so miserable. It was so miserable. And the mom would like set me up. I didn't know it at the time. I thought she was just stealing money from the dad. I thought it was like something they knew about, like she gets into his wallet and he like looks the other way, sort of thing. But they also had like a slot machine, like an old slot machine that you can play video poker on or whatever, or an older one. And they had a jar of coins, and like she would also get into that, so I could go buy her cigarettes when I would go on excursions every day with the kid. And then years later, the dad came to court for the custody thing and blamed those two things on me, said that I was regularly stealing from his wallet and that I stole a jar of coins. And I was like, oh my God, like, so this whole time that woman was setting me up for it too. Like, I can't tell you how many times I caught her in his wallet, and I thought it was like, you know, you don't question couples dynamics. Like, I don't know. Like, and it turns out she was blaming me. And I wasn't even that diabolical. Like, I didn't even figure that out until years later. Um, yeah, but, okay, so also at this time, I was still on the prescribed painkillers. I was going back and forth to San Francisco to pick up my prescriptions because there is no one in Reading who would prescribe that sort of thing. Or maybe there was, but you know that doctor later ended up going to jail and everything. So, um, you know, so I still had that bad dynamic going on, and it definitely fed into the whole staying with Tony because you know when my family expressed concern, he would have my back, and yeah, and still I kind of looked the other way with his drinking, even though his drinking was really bothering me now because he wasn't working at all. You know, I felt like we were stuck in this house without him like contributing at all, and I was working part time, and he would get so jerky about me working because I'd have to go to San Francisco to work, and it was constantly like you're fucking people and you're cheating, and it's just like, dude, I'm coming home with money. Can you just shut up? Like, just shut up, please. It was so shitty, and yeah. So living there was miserable, and we were there for almost 2 years. I think almost 2 years, at least a year and a half, and then he got a miracle job out of the blue, an actual office job, and everything changed overnight. He had confidence. I was proud of him. Everyone was proud of him. We moved into our own home. Um, like things were actually great for a couple years. He would go to the bar, but not that much. Like he was home and he would help with dinner and um, yeah, like it was the most functional our family ever got. Um, and it was probably from ages 2 to 4 with the kid, um, about 2 to 5, so almost 3 years. And then COVID hit, and he lost his job. And it turns out he didn't just lose his job because of COVID. That's what he led me to believe. He actually lost his job because he had stolen the company's. He was using the company credit card for private things like gas in his vehicle, and I think there were some other concerns, which of course he blamed on everyone else except him. Oh, I should pause this and come back to it. Okay.